Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to our Game of Thrones spoiler discussion. I'm going to be joined by Logan and Pac-Man himself, Tom Adcock, to go through Season 8 of Game of Thrones. It is a full spoiler cast, and there'll be spoilers not only for Season 8, but also for the previous seasons as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All hail Bran the Broken. All hail Bran the Broken. In a short sentence, Mr. Adcock, how does that make you feel?
Just Bran, if I was him, be a bit annoyed with the broken. Sort of, it's a bit harsh, isn't it? Picking out his main weakness and sort of leading with that.
There's loads of ways you can spin it, but yeah, most people will say it's because he can't walk. Is that a sick feeling in your gut when you hear that? That Bran the Broken is sitting on the throne. Well, he's not sitting on the throne because it's gone, but we'll get to all that.
He's got his own throne, isn't he? Mobile, so...
Yeah, it's a better upgrade. Logan, does that make you feel a bit sick in the gut hearing that?
It's got to be queried. I'm alright with the Bran bit, but it's like me getting on the throne and I'm called Logan the Forgetful, or
Logan the Long Arms.
It's like Pete. Yeah, it's
Pete
like
the Bald
picking on
Mug.
the. It's supposed to be
Bald
named
Mug,
after
actually.
the good thing, in it.
Well,
Should be like Jamie the Brave, or like, and then they go, no, Bran the Broken. It's like if something's broken, it's fundamentally no good anymore, right?
that's what they've gone with.
If you said, oh, that PS4's broken, it ain't working. That phone's broken, it ain't working.
Well, that's what they've gone with, and we will get to all of that and more in this spoiler discussion. Final season of Game of Thrones, Season 8, wasn't it? It was Season 8.
Yeah.
Difficult to structure something as vast as this. So I think the things to be upfront about, we're going to miss things. We're going to get things wrong. And I am definitely going to mispronounce many of those names because I still can't be getting at them.
That disclaimer should be there, prefacing everything Dimp Digital does.
Yeah, maybe I'll just cut that out and put that in the front of everything because that's always on the cards. So we had a 6-season finale here for Game of Thrones, the final season. Slightly longer running times than we're used to, but 6 episodes. As I said, we spoke offline and we thought it's probably not best to go through every episode piece by piece because it's just too much to unwrap and just kind of focus on the cliff notes. Now, in the first 2 episodes, it's kind of mainly set up, isn't it? We've got Winterfell that's going to be under siege from the fucking walkers or whatever they're called. They're not called walkers in this, are they? What are they called? The Night King's army. Hello? Army of the Dead.
There you go.
We'll call it that. So it's a lot of preparing, a lot of getting familiar with the characters. Lannister turns up of the Jaime variety saying, surprise, surprise, Cersei's not going to help. Jon finds out that he is of Targaryen blood, so that's finally revealed to him. And he also reveals that to Dany. But I kind of want to start episode 3 because I think that's where arguably one of the most interesting episodes is. You've seen a lot of war films in your time, Adcock. You've gone on about how Lord of the Rings can't be beaten. It's Helm's Deep. There's this CGI mess. He's just been given the accolade when there's things like Braveheart really doing it properly. How does something like episode 3 where the living army meets Army of the Dead in a TV show outside Winterfell?
Well, dark, anticlimactic, bland. I don't know, like parts of it, if I'm being kind, like of what I could see, some of the cinematography was incredible. Like I really like the idea, well, not the idea, the visual of like the Dothraki charging into the darkness and all the lights going out one by one. It looks amazing, but then logically, I think it's been a real like issue this season. Like why did they send the entire like Dothraki off into the darkness, not knowing what they were fighting? Like what kind of move was that? Ridiculous.
No, that's quite a straightforward one. You send all the brain deads out. that in order to lure the Night King out, he can't be just pushing them back. They had to take some casualties. So there's logic there.
What's the Night King doing? What's the Night King doing getting involved anyway? They got one weakness. Just keep him back.
That's true.
He's definitely going to win.
He shouldn't be near that front line.
That's mental. Yeah, like I said, I was one of the people who really struggled to actually see this. I even took the PlayStation upstairs because I was like, right, am I getting some glare? Like, what is going on? Struggled, but it looks really nice. And, I've read everyone saying it was purposeful and, gritty and dark and you don't know. But all the battles are like that in Game of Thrones, I think. You could have just, I don't know, that spell could have been cast and you could have shown it dark and they could do that crafty thing where, we see it a little bit more light, but, we're like, right, they can't see. I get that.
You need an OLED telly, that's what you need. And then it looks the bollocks, I've been told. So that's new technology like camera and no good unless it's 3D. And he's getting fucking plaudits and the film's not even out yet. Krog, what did you make of episode 3? Are you, as an overall, you in the Adcock camp where it's just not of the required standard, or did you enjoy it?
It was dark. There's no two ways about that. I mean,
in the literal sense, it was too dark to see what was going on in some bits.
And that made it difficult. I need to go back and watch it again, really. I got the general gist of stuff, but apparently it was dark because they used natural lighting only, so that's the reason why. So they were going for something more authentic, which has then got to be queried because the majority of it is CGI that I could tell.
Wow.
So you go, what are we doing? But yeah, I think that the thing is, it's always easy with these things to just go into the massive or smaller plot holes, but it just had me querying a lot. I was sort of like, right, okay, you're going to chuck all that shit out there. The thing is, that whoever dies can just be rezzed again, right? You know that. That's been established. It's
None of them got rezzed. There's
it's
4 of them.
101. So why is that being allowed? Secondly, as soon as that dragon just goes around burning shit, burn it all then. I don't know. I was just sort of like, right.
There were times when the dragon, they could have just flamed them, like when they were outside the walls and the trenches were on fire and they weren't moving. They could have just wiped them out. But I go back to my earlier point: is that the plan? There's seemingly an endless army of these shitbags. The whole plan had to focus around the Night King getting put down. Yeah, he was only ever going to advance really until he fell off his dragon in this case, but he was only going to really advance when he probably thought it was in the bag.
I mean, you could argue that it was kind of lured them into a bit of a trap, but
outfought them, mate.
It was never a trap, was it? You had it reminded me a bit of you got all these little heroes that are just fighting their own little corners, and I was a bit like, I think it was all right. I don't want to be too critical of it because it's like I'm not sitting here watching, a film. I'm watching a series, and I think they did a good enough job. I'm just pleased in this series that we actually got. I'm so used to watching a series of programs and for very little to happen in each episode. So I was quite pleased to see it just all sort of unfold quite quickly, but. My overriding feeling from that episode was that it was a lot of build-up for these White Walkers for one episode, and that's it. And that is it done. It almost seems like after that, I was like, it's a bit of an unnecessary... I was always okay with Game of Thrones before the White Walkers become a thing. And I was always okay with the focus on who's going to get on the Iron Throne. And then I saw that when the White Walkers started becoming more prominent as the story went on, I was sort of like, where's this going? And it sort of gets to a point where it's just one episode and that's it, it's done with, that's it, don't worry about it anymore. So I was a bit sort of, I just thought, right, you've built me up for that and there's no real impact on the end story.
Longest episode in history.
Yeah, but yeah, it was all right. I know I've slagged it off, but I was okay with it. Bit dark, but yeah, a few plot holes. All right, done. It's just good to see a bit of action and some killing, I guess. Poor Jorah as well.
Yeah, I mean, we did lose a few characters during this episode. Ed don't need to talk about. He needs to be binned. He was killed saving Sam, so no worries about him. Is it Lyanna, that little small northern house girl? She got crushed by that big giant. Yeah. Managed to get a little stab in the eye though and put him down, which is good. But I guess the three main characters that we lost during the episode were Theon, Jorah, and the Red Witch. I can never pronounce her real name. Theon, obviously, is the mascot.
Melisandre.
Melisandre. You do all that. I'll just call it Red Witch. Theon's obviously, Adkins is our sort of mascot for Theon and Reek in the Dimp ranks, and he was finally put down. He's had a real up and down arc throughout the series and throughout the entire seasons that have been played. Ultimately kind of goes out on a high note, if not a bit of a stupid note, charging at the Night King with nothing else. But I guess the main thing is, in your opinion, Adcock, has Theon managed to redeem himself for all the atrocities that he committed in the earlier seasons?
Yeah, just about. I guess he's been on kind of a redemptive arc for a while now, hasn't he? And he didn't have really much else to do. That whole saving his sister, that's bizarre. Like, she got kidnapped and re-saved her. I just feel they really, at this point, I think this is the thing. I really don't know, like, big picture wise, like why they made these shorter seasons. But just on him and this one, I just think they didn't really have anything else for him to do. So it was like, right, he needs to go.
Put him out in a blaze of glory.
We want him to go out in a blaze of glory. Right, he can just charge Night King, take him out easy, job done. Like, it's fair enough.
Yeah, he's assigned to Bran basically to protect him. That for whatever reason, and we still don't really know. Well, we kind of know the reason why the Night King's obsessed with Bran. It's because he's the memory of the living, I guess, and that's what's kind of painted on the surface. I thought there'll be something more sinister lurking, but we will never find out because the Night King and his army are laying in a pit of dust. But he was assigned to kind of protect Bran in hope that when the Night King rocked up, they could take him down. Logan, you mentioned Jorah. He seemed like he was one of your favourites, and he was slaughtered, protecting his queen and off the masses of the dead.
Yeah, I always like characters that are. I like the idea of an old boy that's just out there, just doing his thing. I thought he was gone when he got that scaly shit, but good old Sam comes to his rescue. And I was quite happy that he went out in a way that the way that I think about it is would George Martin wanted to have gone out that way, and that is one of the very few demises that I can see him writing. And I always thought Jorah was good. I liked his loyalty. I liked his morality and everything. And I quite like the idea that he just went out there and went, you know what, let's save the good girl. As it turned out to be a pointless death, really. But there you go.
Well, he's only doing what he can in that moment.
Yeah. And I saw that. I was like, he's going to fight to the death here.
Yeah.
But yeah, poor Jorah, he wouldn't have. I kind of think, if he'd have stayed around, he might have been able to talk to her and stop that massacre occurring later on. But that's wishful thinking, I think.
I believe so as well. One character I've never kind of got throughout the whole series, when I say series, I mean from 1 to 8, has been the Red Witch. I've never quite clicked with her, not since day one. Like, she seems to just sort of roll around. She spent forever with Stannis, sort of leading him down the garden path, and then realised that was it was the wrong person to be going after. Sort of wishy-washed her way back. Tried it on with Snow, got rejected. Resurrected him, which is arguably a massive point in the series. But I've just never been quite sure what she's offering or what she's meant to be doing. I don't know if anyone can fill me in on that, but it wasn't when she sort of walked away. She helped in this instance. She was never quite sure of her motives, and to be honest, I still don't really understand what she was there for, other than to give advice and pick Snow up when he died. Yeah,
I think it's just a hangover from the books. I think
George
the TV
R.R. blowing it.
Mate, he's got it's the real canon now. I just think
he ain't finished it, the cunt.
Well, mate, he's working in secret hard. Why are you on it every day? I think it's a bit of a hangover from the books, in that I think in the books, like, magic is much more prevalent, and in the show, I mean, when they had a template to work from, it's fine. So she was introduced. Because do you remember when she was like making Stannis have like a weird demon baby and things that went off to slow? It was really sort of magic heavy back then, and I feel like they kind of don't know what to do with it going forward. No. So I feel like they just kind of went, don't know what to do with it. And she sort of went off for a while, and again, I think it's just sort of writing an ending for her. Just bring her back for this, because all that prince that was promised and flaming swords and there's all sorts going on there with her, like that was the Raylar, her god or whatever. But it's just sort of all a bit of a red herring, and similar with those like faceless men, sort of. Arya just learning how to use all this magic, no consequence, just sort of stole their magic, went off, killed a load of people, and it's fine. Don't think that's what it was meant for, but it's just some sort of loose whatever the saying is, something not ended properly.
I think when you go back and watch these, like if you sat there and watched them one after the other, you get to this series and you go, what? Like in isolation they're alright, but when you think back to the like all that, basically the way that you can, I'm really boiling it down here, but that Melisandre, essentially one use become she was a giant match. Right. Like literally, all she was used for was to light a fire. You think it's a bit of a waste.
Snow
really.
up. Snow was dead. He was in the land of
after
dead.
That.
Wow. In the season,
just fucking got snuffed out for no reason.
Wow.
I don't know. I agree with that. There was a lot of focus on that whole Arya face this man thing, and I think all you could have done is given me a hint that she'd been off training for 2 years or something, and I'd have been, that's fine. Like I'd have accepted that she can now wield a sword. Like I didn't need to see her go.
You'd been going nuts, rushed. They've not explained it to me. I'm telling you that would have been the complaint. People like to see it all. You'd have been complaining at that.
Well, you say that a lot of things were done off camera later on. I feel they sort of just went, it's fine, just wrap that up off camera, fine. But I think that's bizarre. I really thought that fella who kept turning up with like the gold coin or whatever was gonna sort of reprimand her right at the end and sort of say, right, you've been doing some bad shit with this stuff, and either take her out. That's how I saw her going, or dragging her back to that island or whatever. I found that quite bizarre that nothing happened with that.
No, well, Arya plays a vital role in this particular episode because she's the one who gets the kill shot on the Night King, stabbing him with her little Valerian steel dagger that Gendry's made. How does that sit with you, Logan? Because many people are like, Snow. That's Jon Snow's destiny. What? He's been brought back for nothing. What's going on? Why is Arya getting all the plaudits?
I was fine with it. I don't know. I don't really. The thing is, I was always used to. Well, the one thing that Game of Thrones used to do very well, a bit like The Walking Dead, was crop up on you with a surprise death or something that you just didn't expect. So that's what it was good at. Plot twists. And I was thought this. That? Well, yeah, kind of. It looked like Jon was blowing it a little bit, so I was like, I actually thought out of nowhere. Nice little RKO reference there. Out of nowhere, I thought Bran was going to do it, but there was always going to be someone coming out of nowhere. I thought it might be Reek that might do it, which would have been like the ultimate retribution, but he ain't important enough. It's got to be one of them Starks, isn't it?
Ideally, yeah.
So it's fine. I think it's okay. It just felt a little bit. Again, I think you're just so accustomed to coming to those final boss things, if you like, and there being a battle. Like there's always some kind of fight to the death.
I wanted to see Snow or someone, or just like a hand to hand with the Night King.
Yeah.
Just to see him in action, because all I see him do is fucking lift his arms up, chuck a few spears, and just look mean. I wanted to see him in action, but.
And that's what I mean. It was
around.
Just nothing, no battle, and it just went. Oh. Okay, Jon arrives late to the party because he's fucking about with that dragon. I don't know. It was all right. I think I'm just a bit disappointed there was no fight.
No showdown.
But then again, the whole episode has been showdown. But then again, the whole episode was a battle. So I can't be too disappointed with that.
I think one of this sort of probably comes this more at the end, but one of the overarching things I kind of picked up on in this season is style and sort of shock attempts over substance. I.e., they were more interested in trying to surprise you, like Arya just coming off screen from nowhere and stabbing him, like just for you to go, "Oh," like that, rather than slowly burning it and not having that showdown, having it be a meaningful battle. It seemed they just wanted to, not cheap, but they just kind of wanted that moment. They want it to be a moment rather than a long, drawn-out process.
Yeah, it's a really good point, I think. And I think, weirdly, the other way is so much better. Like, if you had seen Arya... Because obviously the minute the Red Queen kind of had that chat with her, you sort of knew that Arya was at least going to be involved with his taking him down, if not... Yeah. So, like, they could have built suspense up with her trying to get into position, maybe, whilst, I don't know, Brandon the Night King, or while Theon was fighting them, something, you know, just so you knew she needed to get somewhere, and you're like, is she going to get there? Yeah. Rather than just her, like, jumping out like a ninja rat and getting caught. Nice little move, though, to be fair.
But they were trying to catch you out with that Jon Snow, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a video of both the writers, and they talk about the episode, and they pretty much say their intention was that you see the chat... I've forgotten her name again, Red Witch. Yeah. And she then purposely off camera for like 10 minutes or whatever it is, in the hope that you as the audience forget that she's lurking.
Right.
So and I don't think that's a good way to do it, personally, but that's what they were aiming for. And I think that's why we end up with what we got, because they wanted, like I said, they wanted that moment rather than it being, like you said, it would have been good to see if she's like scrambling and Theon's like, or Jon Snow even would have been better, wouldn't it? If he's like underneath and the Night King's like getting on top of him, you're like, fuck, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then she sort of dives in, but as it was they wanted that television moment.
I don't know about you as well, but I found Bran expendable to a certain degree. I was kind of...
Can't now.
Well, no, evidently not. But I was sort of, out of all the Starks, I was always kind of like,
He's got all the memories. He's the one on Earth.
I don't need them memories. They've fucked it all off anyway. Wow. They've fucked it all off and changed it all. So they've gone, no, we're not doing that. They're going for this Parliament bollocks that is not working properly in the UK at the minute. So, election, isn't it? Yeah. And that don't work. Just voting for their bloody mates. So how's that going to solve the problem?
Working a treat. Yeah, I enjoyed episode 3. I liked a lot of the. I think it was directed pretty well. I don't think they had a lot to work with. I think it was I can't remember the guy's name, Miguel something or other. He's English fella who hails from Argentina, but he done like 3 and 5, and I think in both those episodes, visually it was good to watch. Like that Dothraki part where the lights are all going out and then you see him coming back like in dribs and drabs. But yeah, I think there's definitely stronger writing that could have been in there. But the Night King's defeated, everyone crumbles. We lost a few characters along the way that we've spoken about, and immediately almost attention will shift to the Iron Throne and also Dany and Mr. Snow, and we know that the plan is for Daenerys to rock up at King's Landing, take the Iron Throne and do all that good stuff. On episode 4 afterwards, it's a setup basically for that particular moment to occur. I guess we do lose a semi-major character there. Missandei, she's gone, head chopped off. She's captured by Cersei's forces and has her head chopped off in front of Daenerys and Grey Worm, so they're both livid. It was I think it was a difficult episode to have because it's come off this big battle and then immediately try to transition into setting up episode 5. But how did you find the setup for the King's Landing piece was, Adcock?
I think it's a very much, like you said before, it's that style over substance. So the bit where they took the dragon out, like, again, it's sort of a shock. But, I mean, I know you can nitpick these things. And to be honest, it is TV. But I think Game of Thrones, up until last season, season 7, was very, like, grounded. You know, if something happened, it was, you know, whether it was a mistake or not, you could kind of reason it out with the characters. How Daenerys, 300 feet up in the air, can't see a fleet of ships behind a rock. is
Mate, it's a massive, great big mountain.
Clearly, fucking hell. Like, and then like, again, it's not nitpicking because like the show just doesn't follow its own rules. You got in this episode those fucking scorpion crossbow things can take out a moving target, like 2 direct shots in a row or 3 or whatever, and then a little bit later on, Jesus Christ, like
I've got a counter to that.
That dragon is absolutely one hit super buff. It's fucking leveled up a bit, I tell you. But yeah, I feel like this was all set up, and you got those 2 major bits. You got the dragon getting taken out.
Yeah.
Again, how the fuck they picked out that bird out the ocean and went, yeah, that's the advisor, get her. But that happened off screen as well, didn't it? Logic's out the window, and then yeah, and again when they were basically this is one. I think episode 1 and 2 was just all build up. I was like, fine. 3, I was like really geared up for. I was thinking, right, they're going to sort of maybe thin the herd out here. But then the minute you kind of got with the rhythm of that episode and you realise, if someone gets overwhelmed, they're fine. Like no one's going to die unless they get a big moment.
You can just lay on bodies like sand,
yeah,
and get away.
At the beginning, I was like, "Oh, they're in trouble, fucking hell!" Like, everyone who's out front's dead, and he sort of went, no. As long as they don't have a moment, they're fine. So that kind of took the drama out. This then slowed things down a bit, more build up, and I mean, by this point, I was starting to worry. I was like, right, I don't know how well they're going to be able to finish this off. This is creaking a bit under the weight of things. I think they've really got too much to do at this point, and the logic's out the window, and they are just going for these big. I feel like they're just like, right, so and so needs to die this way, and then kind of logic goes out the window. Like just make that happen, and they're like, right, tick, yeah, she's dead. That's sort of Daenerys a bit madder now.
Angry.
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of this episode, to be honest. Looked great again. There's some really nice shots, but when you got. I don't know, you got Cersei, who's actually a good like villain, and she's not doing anything really, is she? 4 episodes in. She is. I had £1 million an episode or something.
That's why she's probably only in 3 of them. They went, fuck that. Jesus, sit there fucking drinking wine. Not having that's for sure. Yeah, I know you mentioned the whole dragon being picked out of the sky, and then the next episode, they managed to avoid it. The only counters I have to that is the other dragon that got shot, not as skilled as Drogon. I think we can all admit,
true.
Big Daddy Drogon, he avoided a few of the spears even after the ambush, so he's a little bit more geared up. And in episode 5 we see Daenerys using some brains and actually going high into the clouds and over the sun where you can't see properly, to sort of catch them out.
To be fair, they're all out at sea. Just blow the city up. You ain't even got to worry about them.
No, not really, because they don't
come in from the other direction.
The shit things about those scorpion weapons, if you ain't got them pointed in the right direction to start with, you've had it. They ain't easy to turn around, are they? They're not agile. I think go around the back of them. But yeah, episode 5 is obviously a big one. Krog, I'll let you take this away in terms of faults and whatnot, unless you've got anything on 4 that you wanted to do, but that was a bit more of a build up.
Yeah, nothing really. I think, I was sort of echo all them faults. I sort of thought it was all a little bit set up. It very much felt that way.
Episode 4, just I was going to interject slightly, was the perfect time to put the conversation that Daenerys and Jon Snow have after the massacre, where she's when he's asking how do we tell who's right, and she says I decide. Like, just to set up and seed that mentality a bit more, because what happens in episode 5 feels a little bit stretched at times, but I'll let you continue. I just felt like there's that conversation. If that happens in episode 4, then you're thinking, right, she's going to fucking go mad here. But they went for that shock moment again. But anyway, I'll stop talking.
Yeah, a couple of things. You wouldn't have all them scorpions pointing in the same direction, would you? So
just in case they come from
you wouldn't go
360-degree dragon able to fly.
Definitely that dragon is only going to come from the north. Like, there's no two ways about it. All 100 face that way. They go, no, Euron, you sure we should just 5 maybe? No, all 4, I can't see. So that annoyed me a little bit. You think, okay, you go, did they need to touch them? Well, they can't get in the army via sea if you don't get rid of the boats. So that's why I think they were a problem. But I did. I quite liked the quandary between Tyrion and Varys as to who's getting supported. So I thought that
fucking Tyrion sells him out.
Yeah, well, I could see that coming. Varys
under the fucking
has always been right. You should always follow Varys. I've always thought that. He was one of the ones that I thought he didn't seem to have any ulterior motive.
He was a sneaky fucker, but he was generally, he always had a long-term plan.
Yeah. And I always quite liked the relationship between Tyrion and Varys. And I thought Varys surely can convince Tyrion to convince Jon. Nope. Just sells him out and he gets fucking burnt to a crisp, the poor bastard. But I thought that was quite interesting. I felt the Jaime Cersei thing was a bit of a distraction that wasn't massively important. I think the whole thing for me always felt like, who is going to go back there to kill Cersei? I always felt like someone was going to get to her before Daenerys did. So I was looking at the Hound, who I thought he's probably not interested in Cersei. He's just out to kill his brother. Yeah. I thought Arya could. That's possible. And then I thought, Jaime, is he going back there to release her, or is he going back there just to do the deed? Because
I'll be the Queen Slayer as well as the King Slayer.
So I was kind of thinking all those sort of things, and then I thought that was an alright setup, but I think it was just a bit of a Missandei annoyed me. I was like, I don't know why that's been installed. Picked her up, as you say, pick her up randomly, go, friends with both the leader of our army and Daenerys, we'll have that, kill her. But I think there was a couple of strange bits there. So I guess getting on to 5 then.
Best part of 5 is Tyrion and Jaime, I think. Like when Jaime gets captured, because he obviously deserts Winterfell. Doesn't desert, he wanders off, bins off Tarth and says, I'm going back to Cersei. Gets caught on his way back. And then they kind of have that moment where Tyrion's like, you're the only one who's ever looked after me. Gives him a little plan and releases him. I thought that was easily the best moment of 5.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little moment, actually, because I've always liked the relationship between Jaime and Tyrion. I always thought it was... I always got the feeling that they genuinely had like brotherly love for each other. Yeah. But I always wondered whether their ambition would ever get in the way of that, and their own sort of like little agendas. But no, I thought that was quite a nice little touch there that he let him go and they had that conversation. I thought that was a bit of not closure for me on that bit, but I always thought, that's a nice. I always thought that was the case, but it's nice just to be confirmed in that episode.
Yeah, because that's probably the first time that Tyrion's gone against Daenerys behind her back, like intentionally. Maybe we've done it once or twice, but he's kind of even with what's his name, old Varys. He's sold Varys up the river because he wants to be loyal to Dany. Yeah, and then after he sees him burnt to a crisp, he's like, right, maybe that's not the right decision. Yeah, let's get Jaime out of there because he's going to get slaughtered otherwise. Yeah, basically. Knowing that his plan is that, to release Cersei, who Tyrion still hates. Well, maybe not, but obviously he's not on good terms with her because he knows that if she saw him, she'd slaughter him.
Yeah, I think I always wondered with the Lannisters whether they were that sort of family, like where they, no matter what, they will all look after each other. But I think that kind of confirmed it to me. The Jaime going back, the fact that Tyrion, wanted to make sure that Cersei, despite everything, the way that she treated him, tried to have him killed, all that sort of stuff. Tyrion still thinks he wants to save Cersei, and
I think that's just for Jaime's sake. I think he just wants Jaime to have a bit of happiness.
And probably that kid.
Well, is there even a kid? Or was it all bollocks to manipulate?
Yeah, unconfirmed, isn't it, really?
We'll never know now.
But yeah, I think, it all just sort of kicks off, doesn't it, really, in that episode? There's no other way to really...
No, I mean, yes, Daenerys' forces are all outside King's Landing. The dragon catches them all, destroys the Iron Fleet, that's gone. The Scorpion weapons, most of the Golden Company are gone, so the army can enter. Lannister forces are all overwhelmed, and they signal. You get the bells to signal to surrender. So this is basically the army saying, "Look, we ain't doing this anymore. This is not going down well." They throw down all their swords in front of. Again, why is Jon Snow on the front line of that infantry army? I don't think you'd be putting, him there. It seems like a weird place. But
it's not a place you want to be.
Not for someone that important, anyway. You think they just easily get knifed one day, but seems to get away with it. But so at that point, King's Landing is at Daenerys' mercy almost. It's like, well, you can wander in and take over. You can capture Cersei and do what you want. But she has other ideas, still enraged, and her and Drogon just indiscriminately singe and burn soldiers, civilians, buildings, and slaughter most of King's Landing. So that's Daenerys gone down the Mad Queen route. Adcock, Daenerys Mad Queen. Expected, executed well, poor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think like a lot of things in this season and maybe even last, it wasn't earned. I've had a lot of people say this, and I agree in that it's fine. Like it's a cool concept and things, but like even like Varys and Tyrion, like Varys, just like wanting to get rid of her. Like I know Jon's got a better claim on the throne, but up until that point, Daenerys is doing a pretty good job. Jon doesn't want it. It's like, why are they all turning against her? I didn't really get it at that point.
She can't be trusted.
Well, at that point, she had done nothing wrong. She's doing all right. Everyone's warming to her, and she's
saying stuff,
sorting everyone out.
I'll tell you one thing, actually. When they first arrive at where is it? Where they sitting on the Iron Islands?
Yeah.
The first thing that happens when they get there, Daenerys says, "I want to go and attack King's Landing now." And they're all like, no. Oh, this is the war councils. There's people like Varys and Tyrion. They're like, no, can't do that. Shouldn't do that. It's a bad idea. Inadvertently, that's what costs the slaughter of many innocents, because it allows time for all the civilians to get into King's Landing. So had they just taken Daenerys' route, she could have singed most of it and kept down the casualties.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. If you lay out, she's lost that Jorah, she's lost her dragons. Jon sort of blew her out for a kiss. She's pretty mad, but I'm like,
Jon's also got. I think she's annoyed that of his situation, that he's the genuine sort of heir to it. I think that's got under her skin a bit, because she spent 8 seasons now believing that she's the true heir to it, and all of a sudden it's like, actually no.
Yeah,
your nephew is who you've shagged. Not a happy home.
I just think to do what they've done, it just required more time and just more skillful writing. I think, like, it's fine that she's flipped, but you spent 7 seasons getting to know her, and she's done some pretty savage things, but there's always been some sort of logic behind it. It's usually masters of slaves or people who have wronged her. She's never just gone around like burning actual just innocent people, like pure genocide, just like and to be honest, her own forces are on the ground there, so how she didn't fucking get Jon and Grey Worm was beyond me. She literally was going street by street, just taking them all out. And I'm like, and to be honest, I thought at that point, well, where does it go from here? Is she going full mad, like actually batshit crazy? But as she kind of didn't, I was like, I really, really confused me. Like, I know we'll talk about the next episode soon, but I was it was a leap too far, too soon for me. I don't know. Didn't buy it. I thought it was poor. I thought the episode looked incredible, and I can't say I was bored. I think this was, lots going on, but her switch to mad was just not earned, I think, is the best thing to say.
Sorry, Logan, what were you going to quaffle in there?
I was going to say, all those slavers, I think she did make a lot, and always has done, made all of these semi-controversial decisions. I don't think it's ever been a slam dunk with a lot of them that she's made, and she's always been quite ruthless, but I think there was always an element of Jeremy Corbyn about it, where it's kind of for the greater good, isn't it?
Yeah,
people love that. But I think that's the point. It was always you always felt like her morality was in the right place. Like she was those that were truly innocent, she would save, and those that were deemed to have either taken the piss or exploited or be killing people indiscriminately, she would, come down hard on. Basically, is what it boils down to. But I think she was so blinded in this by grief and rage that she just didn't care. I think that felt like a step too far for her character. I always felt like her overriding morality would shine through, and you never really got the feeling up until that point that it wouldn't.
It made things very black and white after that, didn't it?
Because it did. Yeah,
there was no kind of grey area where, I don't know, they could have set it up where she had to kind of do that to maybe Cersei is planning to do something more heinous, and the only way to do it. But as soon as she did that, it was like, right, you can't back Daenerys really from a morality perspective. And what they've done well usually throughout seasons is when people have had to make hard choices, you can see both sides of the argument. Whereas I think in this one, everyone just sat there and goes, "Fucking hell."
Yeah, like it was
a bit strong.
It wasn't even like if she'd have killed and instructed them to kill the army that had surrendered, and that, or that she'd gone up to Cersei's tower and just fucking absolutely just rained.
Maybe Cersei surrendered or something, and then she just killed her in cold blood. You'd say, well, it's still not the best thing to do, but it had to happen.
I just felt like it was.
But it was genocide.
Yeah, it was. It was literal genocide, and you went, well. After that, there's no way you can sit there and say it's okay for her to continue and for Jon just to go and nod in. Tyrion stays his hand and goes, "It's fine." So yeah, it was a bit easy, and it just felt. Again, I'll go with what Adcock said, where it looks fantastic, and I think the direction's brilliant. But the fact that everyone basically was burnt to a crisp was felt a bit too far for the character that we'd been learning over the past 7 seasons.
Yeah, again, I'll still come back to that point I mentioned in episode 3. I think again they wanted a moment. They wanted a moment or a turning point, a shock, something like that, and I think they got that. I think a lot of people were like, "Whoa, I didn't expect her to suddenly do that," but not for the reasons of, I'm surprised. It's more like I don't understand why she's done that. It seems out of turn, which is not the shock you want. You want the shock to be genuine, but you can understand it. Whereas in this case, it was it is a shock for you, and it doesn't seem to make much sense on there. We lost a few characters in this episode as well. We lost Varys, as we said. The Hound and the Mountain go at it. So the two brothers finally meet and they take each other out.
Do you know, I wanted to say this actually. I was talking to someone recently. I would have loved when maybe at the end of the Winterfell episode, when Arya and him sort of went off together, if they could have just had a little bit of catch up with them, just for me to. I can't remember why he wants to kill his brother so badly. I don't think that's been a plot point since like. Is that who done it? His brother?
I think so.
It was him, yeah, but they don't introduce you to that.
I don't feel like that's been mentioned since like season 2. Right, okay.
Mate, it's in those books you've read.
Yeah.
I know, but book 1 probably. I'm like, I would have liked a little recap. They fucking rammed down the facts about Targaryens flipping coins and the bells. Give me a bit of fucking Hound background, please. I was like, right, I know they don't like each other, but just what's going on here?
Are the bells significant? As in them ringing?
No, they've definitely just brought that in. That's not been mentioned. That was not mentioned in that Battle of the Blackwater or anything.
So it's not like the bells can cause the Targaryens to go, bah.
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't think so.
This is where you go on the internet and you find 10 things you missed in the series, and actually it's a masterpiece.
King's Landing, ringing bells.
Euron and Jaime have a little ruck.
That was. Do you know what? I agree with you. The Jaime bit with Tyrion was a wonderful piece, but then Jaime after that. I mean, again, don't get like what they done with him. I feel like you got season 1. He's a bad bloke. Then from 2 to 7, he's gone this sort of like he's learning a lot. He's becoming a better person up until joining the heroes in Winterfell, and then it's just like U-turning. He's back to square one. He's after his sister.
Yeah, but that's not an evil thing. He thinks he's got a kid in there.
Well, but what the logic of it though? He chose to stay behind in Winterfell. Hears that Daenerys has lost the dragon, and then just changes his mind, like without kind of getting like an inner monologue. I'm like, I don't understand. He knew she was fucked, whatever. I don't really understand what happened to make him dash back down.
Little bit of hero, isn't it? That's what the real heroes do. At all costs, they put their life on the line to save those they love.
Well, it's crazy. And then fucking Yulon or whatever his name is coming out of the water. It just fucks me off. Like, I like Jamie. That was such a shit. Like, why are they fighting? Why is he coming out of the water at that one little craggly bit of beach just at that time?
The hidden part where they're going to try and escape. That was a weird one. What's Cersei's hand called? Is it Qyburn? I can't pronounce his name. That little old fella. Hand. The best death I think the whole season was Mountain just grabbing him, throwing him against that wall, and caving his fucking head in. It was so indiscriminate.
It was just kind of like, right, well that's him done then.
Yeah, and I love moments like that where it's just like no, get out, crunch, you're gone. I think Cersei and Jamie obviously die in the rubble as Daenerys is burning all the innocent children above her, starts crumbling in the structures, and Jamie and Cersei are trying to use Tyrion's escape plan, but that's blocked up, and they both die with the buildings semi-collapsing on them. I know a lot of people out there wanted Cersei to be hung, drawn, quartered, punished, humiliated, like killed in a really, really bad way. Do either of you have that mindset where you wanted a more gruesome death for that fucker who's been a real pain in people's arse for nigh on 8 seasons?
I mean, I thought it was. Go on, mate.
Go on, Adcock.
Am I going?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Right. I just thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity. I thought, like, I think you said earlier, like, I just think good character, like, have Arya kill her, have Daenerys fly the dragon up to a balcony and fucking make her crumble under the pressure. It just seemed a bit like in the end she was almost you're almost rooting for her, which I was like, this is madness. Like, why have they that? Well, not you know what I mean though. You got Daenerys the baddie, like making her cry, making her run off like a little rat. But yeah, it just seemed a bit of a strange ending for her, really, because she's been, I guess, the overarching sort of. The
thing is, but she's she's always had some sort of plan, not just stand in the tower and drink wine and watch it all just crumble.
Yeah, it was madness. Like, tactically, like, everyone's been a bit off their game in this season. She, more than anyone. It's like, you've lost your crossbows, it's fine. You've lost your golden company. Why did she pay? How much did she pay for them? They were fucking useless.
They were trash when they fucking threw down their swords first chance they got.
Did you see the captain? Literally, the captain of the Golden Army lasted 30 seconds. I was like, that poor bloke. They go, do you want to be a captain? He goes, yeah. Oh, we got this really big part. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lovely. Yeah. 30 seconds. You get in a captain. Done.
You're out of that. Krog, did you want a more painful death for Cersei, or are you happy with her just sort of quivering and crumbling, having all the bricks fall on her?
I mean, look, I really did want to see her die. I'm not going to lie. I just haven't forgiven her for all the annoyance that she caused me in earlier seasons, where I just wanted her put down. I did feel sorry for a little bit. I think there is an element, or that I got an element of her just kind of a bit of helplessness. I think she had no one around her. She used to have Jamie, and she used to have a good counsel, which I think she lacked either through a lack of trust or whatnot. But she basically, it was her, Qyburn, and the bloody mountain, and that was basically it, really. So I think tactically, she blew it, but I think there was also an element of blind faith in King's Landing not being breached. So I can kind of get it to a certain extent, but tactically it is shocking.
Feet up approach.
It is feet up. But in any event, surely you have some kind of escape plan that's better than going, fuck, I'm stuck in this tower, let's run down, sort of thing.
Even Hitler got away, so a backup plan. So that's happened. Fact.
I just think for such a big character, and she's been in there for such a long time, and the writers would have known that she probably deserves, and that people would want, if she's going to die, a good send-off. And just having it just felt a bit undeserved. It's a bit undramatic, isn't it? Some rock on a red. Like there's no build up really. It kind of just happens, and you go, right, well that's Ergon then. And it was just a bit. It just felt like a bit of a come down, really. You're sort of waiting for someone to come up on her, and you sort of sit there and you go, did they try and do an unobvious thing to catch you off guard? And you'd probably have to say they did. Really, it was just a bit of a soggy ending for her.
Yeah, maybe that's how they wanted it, but I still think there's people that wanted blood. They wanted justice, and that didn't feel much like justice to me. Final episode, we roll on to two main things, really, maybe three, but two sort of key things happen. We have Jon Snow finally putting down Daenerys, and Bran the Broken being lofted as king. Adcock, he's not been very positive so far, so you might as well get the hat trick here and end the season on a sour analysis.
I actually thought this one...
Fuck off!
No, I mean, it was still like, no way does it save it for me, but as an episode, I was actually alright with this, like, 'cause I was like, what can they do like wrong for me? And again, I thought it looked close. I thought this one looked wicked, like Tyrion walking through the rubble at the beginning looked amazing.
Oh, Daenerys when she rallies her unsullied.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I saw something on Twitter today. It was like, whoever got told to design that massive Nazi Targaryen flag should have known like trouble was brewing. Like, why is that getting like made pre-battle? I love the way Drogon come out of that snow like a Dark Souls boss. Like, there's a lot. This looked wicked, this episode. But I called Jon putting her down. Actually, I thought, and I even said like stab to the back sort of vibe. If it was him or Arya was going to get it in at this point.
Arya's already had a kill.
That's fair enough. Actually, probably should have thought of that, but I thought it was one of the two. Yeah, so he puts her down. I mean, it's one of those things. I don't know. I don't think anyone was asking for shorter seasons. I think Game of Thrones is best. You know, like when Daenerys takes like Marine or whatever, and then you think, fuck, she's now a queen. But there's all this weird like politics. And I know you're at the end game now, but make her the Mad Queen and give us a season to know what that looks like, and like all the fucking things that go on with like her people Jon trying to convince her, and do you know what I mean? Like it could have been fantastic, and I don't think anyone, was asking for it to be rushed. People wanted her to get over to Westeros, but other than that, I think people are pretty happy. So why they've tried to cram so much in to like, I even thought of a few episodes ago, like when Varys died, that could have been the end of an episode. Normally, that would have been pretty good, but it's at the beginning of one here. And
let's be honest, in an ideal world, you could have had almost a season of the Army of the Dead versus the Living, like that being built up, that fight happening maybe over multiple episodes.
Well, I was almost certain that was going to happen, because when that Iron Islands lady took, I forget her name, but took the islands back in the name of the Queen as a place to fall back for, I was like, well, that's probably going to happen then. But that sort of didn't go anywhere. And I was like, right.
She's just there being protective of it, but yeah, this was the final episode. It was a long one. They had a lot to cram in. They had to kill Daenerys. They had to wrap up everyone's story that was alive as best they could. They had to appoint a new heir to the non-throne because it's been smouldered, and figure out whether they were still going to do the old school system or not. In terms
Drogon's intelligence needs to be questioned as well. Like,
he's a clever boy. He's avoided all those scorpion things. The only thing he's done wrong in this season is when all those Arm of the Dead got on him, he sat there for way too long, letting them climb on him and stab him. It took him like 25 seconds to just get up and go, right, I need to get off the floor here. I'm getting fucking overwhelmed. Other than that, he's a clever cookie.
Sort of knows how to melt. Fucking knew that the throne was that bad and just sort of melted that. It's fine. Knew Daenerys was dead.
I loved it if he hit Snow with it and it turned out he was immune to dragonfire.
Yeah, well, Rumble said that. Rumble Call said that was going to happen. I was like, that would look fucking mental. I hope that does not happen.
And then Drogo realised that he can't battle him, so he puffs it off, but that wasn't to be. Krog, how do you think episode 6 unfolded then in terms of those key points and wrap up?
Yeah, I was a bit. So basically, I had an incident Monday morning,
Right.
which involved me getting up to feed my 6-week-old son, and while I was asleep, accidentally found myself on Twitter. Not really thinking what's going on, and I
6 weeks in, he's cost you already.
I saw a name.
Right. You can reveal it now to us.
Yeah,
we've seen
basically, Ninja, the fucker, the most popular tweet streamer in the world, tweeted out "Brand the Broken, Brand the Broken, Brand the Broken."
That'll do it.
And I was like, you can't unsee it. You cannot unsee it once it's
Can't
on.
be unseeing that.
And I was like, I have a rule on a Monday that I don't go on it, but because it was technically, for me, Sunday night, I didn't think about it. So I actually went into it already knowing
that was happening.
Well, you don't know how it's going to occur, but you know something's going to occur, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was always waiting for that last bit where whatever happens for this Brand the Broken, I was thinking, does Brand get fucking absolutely flattened by someone, or what is that? And then obviously I found out. So when they were all basically sitting around that fucking table, I was sitting there thinking, well, I know who's getting that fucking title because I've seen it on Twitter. But despite that, even despite the spoiler, I was
the pressure was off then for you, wasn't it?
The pressure was off.
The worry was off.
Was,
that's quite a liberating thing to have.
So I wasn't really too concerned about who was going to get it. I think the main thing for me at that point was, right, who's going to be getting this kill on Daenerys. I always thought it'd be Jon, and it turned out to be. Again, it was kind of a bit of a lonely death. I was kind of waiting for Daenerys to say something, like she regretted it, or, just some kind of...
Blood out the nose, that was it.
I just thought she deserves better than... she should acknowledge that she's fucked that up a bit. Like, I felt like she's got that in her locker to acknowledge that. And they didn't even do that. She just looked at him, and I was like, well, what are we doing then?
I kind of like that they've done that a few times, though. They've done it with Jorah, where they don't actually talk. I hate it when there's someone dying, they're like, oh...
I really wish you'd have just said, like...
They got all these last words, and I was thinking, that wouldn't happen. You'd just be in shock, and you'd go, fucking hell, and that'd be the end of it.
Like, said, you fuck, and then I would have gone, right, I'm happy with that. No, it was fine. I think it's just... It just feels a bit shit with it being Bran. I think that there's no two ways about that. It doesn't feel satisfying that it's Bran. I can understand, like, if that was real life, you'd go, yeah, that Bran is an understandable choice. But in the context of Game of Thrones, it just feels a bit, and that's kind of my end thoughts. And it only hit me, really. I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, why did I ever think that Jon Snow could kill Daenerys and somehow end up on that throne? Like, they'd never let it happen. So,
to be fair, how did he not? When Grey Worm and that found him, how did they just arresting him? No chance. No, I think that's where
they didn't tend to offer trials or fair trials back then, did they?
No, I don't. I think that's where it
suddenly does.
It's a good example of like the sort of like not sloppy writing, but definitely like lackluster and just finishing things up, because
it's just we need to get to point B.
Yeah,
we're not interested in how you get from A to B. Let's just not show it.
He's getting found with Daenerys gone, murdered. I'm guessing he's owned up to it. There's no way they're just going to pop him in prison, sort of deal with him later, and then Grey Worm's just like, yeah, you lot decide. It's fine. Killed our queen, but you.
He's fuming.
Yeah.
It's not even still proven guilty, is it? Because they've gone. Have you done that? He's gone yet.
Yeah, and he's like, I want justice. No, and they're like, well, then Tyrion, who's still under fucking arrest, comes up with this harebrained scheme, and Grey Worm just backs down.
Just absolutely, fine with that. And also, how long does Bran live? Didn't the other three-eyed raven live for about 4,000 years? How long is he going to be king for? They've not even...
He's fine. The real tyrant. He's going to fucking be on that throne forever now. That's
exactly. Fucking Mussolini. Never going anywhere. And John, why has he gone up north? It's made no sense. Why is there even a war anymore? Night King's definitely dead. They've had confirmation.
Well, they said they got to do something with them fucking crooks, haven't they?
You know what's on that up that North Crog that he's going to? He's going to that North Grove from the games.
Grove to find that.
Well, I was wondering if that
real
was
canon. That is.
I was wondering if they just actually knew that they didn't need anyone, and they've literally just let him kind of go free, and that's why he walked through the wall at the end. I wasn't sure what was being done there.
Tormund went in. Tormund was like, "They let him through, or I'll fuck you up."
Get ghosting him through, and then we're out of here.
Yeah.
Ain't no skin off your nose.
Yeah. So we end up with the whole family. The throne's got to stay in the succession of a family is killed off. So that's that bit sort of broken away, and that now they will elect the lords, I guess, of each house will elect successors, which is a much better way of doing things. So no little mad Joffrey sons to be lurking or bullshit like that. So the whole Game of Thrones is evaporated at that point. It's not going to be a problem. We have the Stark house and the North's now going to be independent. So Queen Sansa.
That wouldn't cause any problems, would it?
No, surely they would all be like, well, hang on a minute.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll be out, but no, that's fine. Just the Starks are all right to get away with that. Sansa becomes queen. I haven't spoken a lot about Sansa, which I think says a lot about. I was getting annoyed with her in the early part of this season because she kept ragging on Dany, but ultimately proved that she was in the right. So I can't rag on her anymore. But so Bran appoints Tyrion as his hand. Jon Snow gets sent to the Night's Watch. Grey Worm and the Unsullied, and I don't know if the Drogathi are there as well. They go off to an island called Nath or Narth, and then the council's reformed. Got Brienne of Tarth. Bronn. What happened to Bronn in this season? He got very little airtime. There wasn't time for someone like Bronn, was there?
No.
And he's a fan favourite, but there wasn't time for his wisecracking and his lighter moments, really, which was a shame. Davos, he survived. That was always good. The good old boy. I'm sure Logan enjoyed Davos sitting there.
He's a good boy,
safe.
Davos.
He's been through a lot, hasn't he?
Been through a lot, and he's come out the other end, so I'm happy with that.
Sam's become like the library bloke, which I thought took years to become one of those, or Maester, but throw that out the window. They're going to rebuild King's Landing.
He must have been on some sort of graduate scheme or something.
Fast tracked. Yeah, absolutely. Sort of sorted, done with uncovering the real truth. Sansa's Queen of the North. Arya decides she's going to go west of Westeros. So that's that. She's going to find out what's past the maps, even though Bran could technically just walk into the crow and go and have a look and tell her, but that's fine. Go and experience it yourself. That's what they say about travelling, don't they, Adcock? Go and do it yourself. Don't
get what you can while you can, while you're young. Sort of in a gap year, it's fine.
Yeah. John disappears up north to the Castle Black, joins Tormund. Ghost survives, so there is one. Is there two of those dogs left, or is that it now? Is that just the one? I can't remember what happened to her.
I think Arya's one. I thought Arya's one. I swear she let it go early on in season 2, but maybe I'm wrong.
Could be. They all go up with the wildlings and head north, and that's Game of Thrones dealt with for another. Oh no, well, forever, isn't it? That's the end of the entire thing. So yeah, overall thoughts. I still stand. I think even going to the to Bran being put on the throne, I still think that's another attempt at a shock over some substance.
Well, no one would have guessed that, would they? Really?
No. And I know a lot of people that hate Bran just because he's just a boring tosser. Like, just sits there with cryptic clues, and you're like, "What are you saying?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing with Dany, who cracked up and just gone mental. So, like I said, they could have moved, they could have planted the seeds a bit better for that just in this season alone, and probably got away with it. And yeah, it just seemed like it was a little bit too much writing for the sake of getting to a moment they wanted. And in general, I think they played it pretty safe as well. I don't know if you feel the same, Logan, but it felt like a bit of a safe series. There wasn't like many moments where people were like, "Oh, my favourite characters just died." There's a couple, but not where it mattered really.
Yeah, it wasn't. it wasn't very cutthroat. I think, as I said before, it's always been good at like when Rob Stark died. Everyone was like,
"That was
what?" It was kind of like
that's something I was kind of aware of before going into it. But even watching it, the shock of how brutal it was, still I was like, "Whoa, that is more than I thought." Yeah,
like, and when you think about that, and then an episode like that where they were all slaughtered in that room, and the shock factor, and the fact that you could go that they'd been building up to that, and you went, there was no questions from me. I don't remember coming out of that episode going a bit weird or anything like that. It was kind of like, that is a well thought out episode. And I always felt like Bran was the unobvious choice. I was wondering what he was about and what he was offering. Like, he was always a little bit, what are we doing here? Like, what are you actually offering?
It's like a mystery, wasn't it? It's like, what is he? Yeah. Is he really what he says he is? What is all this? And I don't know, it just turned out that...
It always felt a bit unnecessarily weird. Like, be profound and everything, but you're still a normal human. Like, I don't know.
The three-eyed raven.
Yeah, it's always a bit like the three-eyed raven. And it's like, no, you're Bran still, aren't you? Like, that hasn't changed. You're Bran. Your name's Bran. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just... Invented the wheelchair though, so congrats.
That's
handy.
Also, he definitely hasn't got the best story out of everyone that got him the throne. In fact, he wasn't even. He didn't even follow him for a season and a half. His story was so fucking shit.
Mate, foreshadow. Tyrion episode 2. He says to Bran, he goes, "Look, I want to know what your story is." And then at the end, episode 6, he goes, "I know he's got the best story."
Well, Jon Snow, mate, died, come back to life.
He ain't interested, is he?
Everyone would have been happy if it was Jon Snow. Like, there'd be
no one was fucking
apart from
interested.
him. He'd have been fuming with that. The episode numbers, I think, hamstrung them because.
Does anyone know why that was done? Sorry, Abs.
I don't. I mean, if I get one of you to waffle, I'll see if I can find something to look at. But I don't know. I think that's just having 6 hamstrings them in the fact that. Sometimes when something happens, you need a week gap just to stew on things. And I know that's not how modern TV and Netflix works now. It's all binge. But Game of Thrones is like a water cooler chat, isn't it, around the office or with friends? It's like what you talk about what happened for the whole week, and then you go to the next episode and you're pleased with it. And because these were like 1.5 length episodes condensed into sort of one whole episode, so that are roughly 80 to 90 minutes, there were some moments in there where they could have just cut and ended an episode and then it would have had a much more profound effect. And I think just having them have to go to the next scene straight away just loses the pacing. It just, you think, well, hang on, like at the very end when they're all sitting around deciding who's going to be king, like Grey Worm brings Tyrion out, apparently it's been weeks. Whereas all we had was a commercial break. Yeah,
you don't get the sense of time, do you?
No, not. It's completely lost in this episode. And I think in the last season as well, I felt that a little bit with Daenerys sort of jetting about everywhere, and there was at King's Landing getting a White Walker and they'll bat. It's just that was starting to occur, but I think. Episode numbers, because I think that the run time is almost there. It would have been a little bit longer if it had more episodes, but just having 6, you lose those. Okay, it's the end of this week's episode. That's what's just happened is important. I need to think about that. Do you agree with that, Adcock, or have you got another theory as to what might have struggled to convince people?
No, I agree. I think it really. I forgot the last season was only 7 episodes long. They've really. Like the 10
consistent
format
10s, and then for some reason, rather than ramping it up, they go, "We're going to cut it back."
Yeah.
And normally, I'm in favour of that. You've heard me not multiple times saying I hate it when it's the series are too drawn out. But I think with Game of Thrones, they've always kind of earned their keep.
Yeah.
Like
I think last season was actually all right. I think people started to complain about, like you said, the fast travel. And again, like that could have easily been filled in with another 3 episodes of like character moments. People love those characters. Like no one that I know was complaining. They were 10 episodes a season is sort of the sweet point, really. You kind of, there's enough there, but you there's no filler really. So doing a 7 and a 6, even with the extended, and I totally agree with the pacing. It was all over the place, really, and it really really. I think it was the timing issue. It could have been 10 episodes, and then even another season of if the story had been there. Like I said, Daenerys as the Mad Queen, or this. I don't know, or her turning mad, like Walter White over a whole season rather than snapping in one episode would have made more sense.
Yeah. Multiple series for him as well.
Yeah, oh, mate. I mean, that's the ultimate template of how you turn someone. I mean, that's not going to really be beaten, but I mean, that's how you do it, basically. And then, I just don't think. I think R.R. Martin, for all his fucking slow-paced, slug-like life. He's a talented man. I think the minute they lost his sort of like actual template and just had his, I'd love to know what he's actually told them. Like if he's just given them those massive plot
beats. He's told them this bullshit on purpose to like clear down the coal mine.
He's already come out and said
that ain't gone well.
Differently in the books.
Yeah, bollocks he was. He wrote all that and went, fuck, that's not gone well. I can rewrite it now.
Basically got a free pass at trying out the story and see how it went down.
Exactly. Yeah, I do have some sympathy for it because everyone knows it's the last season and expectations were very high. And I guess the trouble in past seasons was you didn't have a finishing line. So if a mid-card character died, it felt like it had a bit more impact to it because you wasn't sure how long the characters have to live without that in our view. Whereas in this case, it's like we know it's the last season. We're kind of expecting main people to die. So when someone like, I don't know, Jorah dies, it's sad. It's not. If that had happened in an earlier season where the finish line wasn't so close, I felt like there's moments that would have been, harder. It would have been like a bit more impactful. And I just think that a final season is very, very difficult, especially when you come out saying it's 6 episodes. It's a spectacle. We're doing 6 movies each week. Like you're setting yourself up for ridiculous expectations. And I think they'll always struggle with that. I don't know. How was your feeling going into this, Krogan? I know you don't tend to get overexcited. You're sort of like a balance, maybe a bit too lethargic. But I can't see you as sitting there going, "Oh, I can't fucking wait for this. I've got all these ideas, all this bullshit." I can imagine you just sort of going like, "Yeah, I'm fine with whatever happens here. I'll just sort of sit back and allow it."
I wouldn't say I was fine with everything that was happening. I was just going to kind of take it all in and then take stock of it. I was okay with the 6. I think I'm kind of Adcock. I think 8 to 10 is roughly where I want to be. I always felt like Walking Dead, which I think went up to like 16 episodes with a mid-season break and all that. I was a bit like, that's too much for me.
No, fuck that.
But I think I like, and I think the majority of people like backstory. If I want a bloodbath, I'll flick on Sky Movies or whatever. If I want some character depth and some thought, and as you say, time to consider what's happened, then seasons, especially Game of Thrones, was good at that. It was always good at not a slow build up, but a patient build up. It's almost methodical to make you think, to be really unsure what's going to happen. I mean, when you look back at all the High Garden stuff and everything that's gone on, it was always getting to a point. It'd get to a crescendo, it'd all play out, and then you'd be thinking, how's that all going to end up in the next season? And with this one, it was all a bit sort of like 2 episodes to build it up, and then boom, and then a sort of episode where you sort of come down, but then Miss Sandy dies, and it's sort of like, well, what's going on here then? And there's still some action in that episode. And then you're straight back into flames again. It's sort of a bit... It wasn't... It was kind of refreshing, but at the same time, it was a bit overwhelming. I think, as you say, it would have been nice to have a little bit more... Sir Davos was always good for giving a thought and a balanced argument and going, well, should we be doing this? And I didn't feel like there was enough other things going on, if that makes sense. Like there's normally a main plot that's playing out that you're following, and then there's 2 or 3 subplots which are plausible subplots that you think could come out, and that never really played out too much in this series, I think, which is where I'm a little bit disappointed with it.
No, the thing I do love is that I love the fact that so many of those theories that people had got blown away I love it. I love Bran's the Night King. I love that didn't happen because you had all those fucking people sitting there after they'd figured out Jon Snow was who he was before it had been revealed in the books or in the film. They were like, "Yeah, we're now elected sort of law keepers of Game of Thrones," sitting there in their little fucking rooms, and they got fucking washed away on this one. They got it completely wrong, and Bran is not the Night King.
No, he is not.
But I think this plays into an important point where when you commit to an idea like that, and you think, "Oh wow, that's clearly what's going to happen." I've done it. I've sat there and done it, and I've said it many times before. But with Metal Gear Solid 5, I sat there, I projected my own theories into what I wanted the narrative to be, and then I got fucked off when it didn't come true. And you can't control the internet and what the internet wants. Like, there's people who want the whole thing redone again.
I know, I heard that.
It's madness. What's that?
But I really do think that some of the negativity that certain people have is down to the fact that what they wanted to happen, their little clever plan they come up with, the shocking moments that they wanted and all the theories flushed away because now all their words are meaningless. I mean, is there any way, Adcock, a show can handle such hype and enthusiasm and ideas and theories and whatnot and not disappoint, legions of people when they don't deliver what they've truly wanted?
No, I don't. I haven't seen all the big shows, but I think no is the answer. When you got this many sort of characters and arcs to kind of complete, and as you say, once they sort of lock, it's almost impossible. I mean, what I would say, if I was being positive about this, like if Sarah or someone who hasn't seen Game of Thrones would say, right, is it worth watching now, or does that spoil it? I would say no, because you've got 7 seasons. That, I mean, the thing is, I guess that's kind of the acid test. Are we just like, were we expecting something that was impossible? And a couple of years from now, if you rewatch the whole thing, would you, with no expectation, would you be like, you know what, that was all right, it's fine? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, but because like Lost is the other one I watched live and was super hyped, and that was a fucking travesty. That last season, the last episode, that really was a train wreck.
Wasn't that sort of on a downward trend for quite a while? It kind of peaked and then just run itself into the floor almost. Or is that a wrong assumption?
It kind of lost its way because I think when they started like this, had a template. Yeah, this had a Game of Thrones clearly was working towards a template at least for 5 or 6 seasons. Lost. Yeah, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing from season 1. They were just writing, and they just went off on like a tangent. So I think by season 3 they were really lost, literally. And then I think on 4 they sat down and went, right, we need to kind of work towards something. So
we need an end game.
Yeah, it picked up then. It got good again, but then they just couldn't land. They couldn't land it. They couldn't even keep it in the air. They really went to come off the rails in a big way. Yeah. And I'll say something like, I don't know, arguably the best one, like Breaking Bad. It's such a smaller cast and such a more focused story. I think by end of season 2, you've pretty much met every character that's going to be in it. And in that, some people moan about the ending of that, but I feel like that's as good as you can hope for, really.
Yeah, you can never meet some of the expectations that people have, and I think it's a good point that you raised that they were using a template for 5, maybe 6 seasons, and they didn't really know what the end game was. So, and the last 2 seasons or so, they've had to kind of cobble together and put what they think is right. But had that template been there from 1 to 8, I think they would have done a much better job of it. But once you're left in the lurch, you've done all this groundwork for 6 seasons, and then for your last 2 seasons, you've basically got to make up the ending yourself. You don't know what's going through that mad fucker's head, what he's really planning, do you? You've just got to take a punt at it and try and wrap it up. And the worst thing they could have done, in my opinion, is left it open. Like, can you imagine if they'd left something like a massive open part where, I don't know, Bran's eyes flicker blue or something? Like people would have liked it, but there'd have been some people that would have loved it, but then everyone else would have been like, what the hell, I've just watched that, it doesn't end. There's a common complaint about stuff not ending when they say it has, and they had so many things to tie up. We'll never know why they made the decision to do 6 episodes rather than 8, which would have been better. But I think that's stung them a little bit. And I think where I'm coming from, I generally was pretty content with what took place. Like, for some reason, I wasn't hyperactive. I wasn't hoping for anything. I wasn't cheering on a theory as such. I think that helped me quite a lot in just letting it wash over me and be like, yeah, I'll accept what that is. It's fine. I've watched more than enough telly in the last load of years to understand that you don't get what you want, and the finales tend to be a little bit of a wet squib. It's really difficult to write an ending to a long-standing TV show and wrap it up in the last 50 minutes. It's not something that's easy. So, there's certainly missteps here, but I am content to sort of walk away and still look back and say, TV-wise, almost transcendent in the early days, and that has arguably sparked off a bigger thing in terms of television production where, maybe it can compete with film. Log, I mean, you're going to look back on Game of Thrones with a positive vibe, despite ripping this particular season to shreds.
Yeah, I think we're all on here being very critical, but I was fine with the majority of it. As I say, you tend to gloss over plot holes nowadays, I think, because that MCU fucking
drops them out every film.
This is what I mean. It's more about entertainment. I mean, I feel like it was a bit sloppy, and that's not helped by including a Starbucks mug and a bottle of water and fucking Jamie not keeping his wooden hand on all the time. Like, I just think there's a couple of sloppy moments which makes me feel like they've...
Without the internet, though, no one's noticing any of those.
I know, but and it's pointed out to you and you go...
Oh, no, yeah.
It just seems sloppy, doesn't it? And you think you can forgive one, but you go, there's many a faux pas there. I was fine with it. It's as you say, it's difficult, and I don't know what ending would have satisfied me, if that makes sense. I don't know what. I wasn't really looking for anything, therefore I don't really know whether it's not met my expectations. But it was entertaining, and I think that's the main thing you can ask. And it's nice for these programs actually to be brought to an end, because it's easy, especially with something that's so popular, just to keep almost milking it. But
I've got that fucking Walking Dead still fucking stumbling around.
I lost it on that.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it's nice to have some sort of closure. I think the frustrating thing is it doesn't feel like true closure because Mr. Martin didn't write it.
Yeah, but he did. As much as he says he didn't, this is what he wanted, and he's gone, cool.
I can't believe you weren't consulted on it, and they went, right, we know you ain't wrote it, sorry, bad English. We know you haven't wrote it yet, but can you tell us the outline of what you see as the ending?
He did. He sold him up the river. He just gave him this and then laughed.
Tackling all the way to the bank, the fat slop.
Yeah, I think now, more than ever, the books are set up to do very well because there's a bit of a mixed reception for the season. Even those who, like me, I've not read any of the books, and I never really planned to. Now I am kind of interested in seeing how it pans out in his version of it. And I'll tell you what, if it ends up being the same, I'll go and kill the cunt myself. I will not have that. It'll be put down in cold blood, that fucking Martin bastard, if he just copies what's been done here. But I am interested now in, and I'm not stupid enough to get committed until he's done them, because he ain't looking the healthiest.
Be like that telltale, someone has to pick it up.
Oh God, yeah, that won't. Oh no, at least that got saved. But I mean, Adcock, you were always like, the law, it all comes from the book. That's the canon. And then once the film, what we're talking about, once the TV show got ahead, you sort of submitted, and now you've rose from the dead and gone, no, the books. But now you must be for you as a book reader. This is brilliant for you because you know that. Well, you don't know, but you're expecting that this, because of the mixed reception the TV show's got, that the books have a shot at kind of redeeming things slightly. Yeah,
it does make me kind of excited for them. Like more so, I do think that all the major plot beats will just be the same. I just think they'll get there in a more like organic, logical way, and I'm fine with that. Like I haven't really got a problem with what the show chose to do, because I think Game of Thrones is better. I love the Night King and all of that, but as you say, he's never said a word. All he does is hold his arms up. Like, he doesn't really make for the best baddie in like a grand scale. So they kind of had to get rid of him to get Game of Thrones back to kind of what it was, although they didn't really do that. But so yeah, if it goes down those kind of ways, the same. But you get a bit, because like the books are written from the point of view of the major characters, which kind of is a positive and a negative. With someone like Dany, much easier to see why she's done what she's done. But then the show I always thought was brilliant is that in the book, what's Stark who got killed? King of the North.
Oh, Robb
Stark. He's not a point of view character, so you instantly know he's not a big deal. Like, obviously, the TV show is much better at tricking you in high, showing him, having him on screen all the time. So his death is a much bigger impact than it ever was in the book. So, the TV show at its best, was arguably better than the books in some way. Cool. But yeah, I'm keen to see what the books are like now. I mean, hopefully. It'll get them out sooner rather than later. I think it's been about 7 or 8 years now. It's ludicrous. So
yeah, he's got 2 more, has he?
Yeah, two more. But then I think go on.
I was gonna say, so is that going to be one? Is going to be the war against the dead, and then one's going to be the battle for King's Landing. Is that?
I don't know. I mean,
theorised structure. They get in a book each. They've got 2 episodes in this.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go. I know basically it's hard to say because obviously the TV show was picking and choosing its points. Some of sort of season 2 or 3 of Game of Thrones was like from the last bit of the books maybe, but the books basically ended with Snow dead. Like so, really, the next one's going to start, I guess, Battle of the Bastards sort of time frame. Yeah, and I don't know. Then I don't know how he done one book that didn't have half the characters in, so it was set just in like Essos or whatever. So you're like, right, what is he going to do? What is he planning? Because you don't know what he's getting out there.
Making Dark Souls 4, mate. That's what he's planning. Get that dusty dragon into the game. That's what he wants.
Targaryen backstory, mate. 7 chapters or whatever. It's madness.
In terms of Game of Thrones' legacy, Adcock, do you think that? Because it feels like it was it has been a massive phenomenon, isn't it, for television and the helping legitimise television alongside things like early Walking Dead, along things like The Sopranos, alongside things like Lost, maybe for a little while. But this felt like it had a much more, it transcended and reached a lot more people than any of those other shows did. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Like high fantasy as well, but just goes to show, and it just built and built and built, really. And I guess that's always hard for them to then land the end of it because you've got everyone on board at this point, and how can you keep everyone happy? But yeah, you're right. It's exciting for what's next. I look forward to the next, TV giant because, I mean, fuck me, production in this was outrageous. So, do you think it's changed Telly in that sense? I don't think production values and maybe production wise, perhaps. I mean, some of the battle scenes and that, Telly did not look like this 5-10 years ago. So in that respect, I mean, X-Files didn't. I tried rewatching that, mate. Oh my god, some of them are terrible. Aged poorly. But yeah, I mean, we're just in a golden age for Telly, aren't we? So. I love it. This takes its place rightly. Even with this maybe wobble of a season, it's still a fucking great show. Yeah. I'm looking forward to maybe one day watching through it, but once all this is settled, like years down the line, starting from scratch and reliving it all. But if anyone's got no other words, we will finally close the chapter for Game of Thrones Season 8. I'm going to assume the silence means we're all Game of Thrones'd out and ready for the prequels that are coming at some point in the next 2 years. Them spin-offs. Fucking hell. Got to keep the lore alive. Anyway, Adcock, thanks for joining me on this particular discussion. And I'll bid you farewell. And Mr. Logan, also thanks for your time as well. No problem. Always appreciated. Everyone else, thanks for your time. And ta-da.